Hello and welcome to the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We're your hosts, Katie Allen Clark and Sophie Conway, avid equestrians and recent first-time mums. Join us and a herd of other guests as we discuss the wild ride of parenthood and horse care together. Now it's time to take up the reins and walk on into our next episode. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Equestrian Mums Club podcast. We can't believe it's 2024 already. Where's the time gone?
That's terrifying.
Where has the time gone?
Absolutely terrifying.
I'm sure I'm only 14 and it's like, it's 2005.
I don't feel like an adult.
We're not adults.
I still can't get over my head around that it's the 2000s. Like, we're in the 2020s.
Mate, Millennium Bug's gone. Millennium Bug's gone.
It's weird. It's weird.
Anyways, before we begin on our next episode, we just want to say that we've absolutely loved having so many wonderful mums and parents along for the ride with us so far. Just a huge thank you to everybody that's tuned in to listen so far, and to all the people that have sent us feedback, ideas, more. We're just really thankful for you.
We're also really, really grateful to, and actually this makes me very emotional, but I'm really grateful to the friends of mine that have been there from the beginning, that, you know, we were friends before we had babies. We were just horsey friends and we used to do all sorts of horsey stuff together, and now all these amazing women have gone and had their babies, and actually it's brought us all even closer because we can talk about it and we've got a platform to do it on. So thank you for all of your support.
We love you. To all the friends and family that are there, we love you.
So we've got
we've got much bigger plans. Sorry, I cut you off. We just got so excited.
We've got big plans for this year, actually. So make sure that you keep listening, you stick around, and we promise you that we will bring lots and lots to your table for the coming year.
We promise. Anyway, we know you're all here to listen to our latest podcast for some reason. So let's kick on into episode 8.
So why are we doing this episode, Katie?
So this episode is all about how do I change my perspective around juggling children and horses.
Or how do we juggle it?
How do we juggle it? If you're pregnant, have a baby or young kids, you are effectively superhuman. We're currently recording a podcast. Well, Rafi is sat on my lap and not going to sleep. Thank you, Rafi. But if you're trying to juggle it all, keep every ball rolling all at the same time, be a good partner, be a good mum, be a good horse mum, be a good dog mum, be a responsible employee or even a business owner, it's just a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. There's a lot going on here. So that's without even getting all the bills paid on time, or the horses vaccinated, or the farrier arriving on the right day or time.
I forgot to get Oscar vaccinated this year.
There you go. Not on purpose, I'm assuming.
No, I have to restart them all now, don't I?
And that's without all of your life admin as well, like paying your electric bill and all of that fun stuff.
Car tax.
Don't forget to do that, chaps. Do not forget to do that. In this episode, we're going to talk about some of the mindset challenges that we've had to face alongside a new arrival, as well as some practical tactics to help you with your horse care routines.
So we've taken some of the most talked about issues we've seen and heard from you guys, our listeners, so far, and gathered our thoughts to see how we can attack these head on. So no, obviously, that all of your situations are individual, but hopefully we can help, even if it's just in solidarity with you, by helping to reframe and change your perspective on some of the more common challenges that us equestrian mums face day to day.
So let's pop into the challenges that we've seen then. We're going to pick 3 top ones that we keep seeing time and time again. Challenge number 1, mindset challenge number 1. I can't keep my horse fit and have a child. Soph, what do you think about that?
Well, I'm in the midst of this at the moment, and I'm having, everybody's heard of mum guilt. I'm having major horse guilt at the moment because my poor Oscar, he's got no muscles. He's just looking, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's very happy. He's fat. He's healthy. He's just very fluffy and unfit because he's not done anything. And it gives me anxiety, to be honest. But sometimes you have to take a step back and say, do you know what? He's absolutely fine. And I can restart him in January or whenever I have time. At the moment, I don't have the time. And so I'm going to try and stop beating myself up about it.
So I think there's some questions that we can ask ourselves when we're looking at this particular challenge. And this isn't one that I necessarily am going to struggle with. So I'm going to ask those questions to you.
Okay.
Because my horse is fat, not fit. But currently that is somebody else's problem,
Yes.
not mine. So I will ask you, when you say keeping your horse fit, how fit is fit? And what do you want to do together?
Well, I'm not talking about racehorse fit.
Oscar is an ex-racehorse.
He's an ex-racehorse, but he does not need to be fit. And actually, I wouldn't want him too fit because he would then be an idiot in the field and he'd go out and hurt himself. Or he'll overdo it when I'm riding him, and he'll end up running away with me up a gallop and doing a leg or something, and I can't afford the vet's bill. So actually, no, I don't want him too fit, but I would like him in a better place than he is in, which is not fit at all. And what we would like to do next year is, I'd really love to go out and do some more eventing, just low level. I want to get out and do some 80s, potentially a 90 even, which doesn't sound like a lot, but to me is quite a lot. So that's the point I want to get to.
And how far off that do you think Oscar is right now?
Oh my goodness, he's basically a newborn.
He's a newborn.
He's basically
a newborn. He's a foal.
He's a newborn that can't lift his head or sit up.
So he's not going to be doing triathlon anytime soon.
He is not. But I think there's two sides of the coin here, because some people will happily take a horse eventing, and some horses you can take eventing and they've not done much, and they'll just canter around. They won't do too much. They won't overexert themselves. They will be fine, or they'll trot around even, And so you can get away with taking some horses eventing without them being too fit. Oscar's probably not that horse. I think he does need a bit of work in him before we do it.
So my next question for you was, does your horse really need to be fit and active?
Well, that's what we're getting at, isn't it? Really.
But are they the sort of person that can wait for you anyway? Does Oscar need fitness?
He doesn't need it, but he does need a job. And I think going into the summer, if he didn't have a job, he switches off, and I think he gets a bit down if he's not working. But then maybe that's in my mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me humanizing him, because actually he's probably quite happy just being a horse.
And I'm not being ageist now, but he is older.
Yes, he is.
I think older, so he doesn't necessarily need the learning phase of
No, exactly. And actually, if he was a 6-year-old, I would be a lot more. I would have probably actually had to ask somebody to ride him a few times a week, I think, just to keep his brain occupied and to keep him doing something. But then again, on the other side of the coin, with a young horse, it never does them harm to have time off.
Yeah.
And they don't need to be in loads and loads of work all the time. So actually, there is that side of it as well. If you've got a 3 or 4-year-old at home, you can just give them a bit of time to grow.
The other thing that I was going to ask you around, I want to keep my horse fit and have a kid, is how important is competition to you to get to a BE80?
Well, do you know what? It's funny you say that, and the girls on the yard will know this about me, is that I don't tend to put a huge amount of effort in to getting Oscar to where I want him unless I've actually booked an event. And so what I will probably do in January is book something for April, and then I've got 4 months to kind of get him to a point where I want him, and I will do it then, because I know I've got a goal in mind.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if I just float along trying to get him a bit fit, I won't do it, and I won't find time to do it, and I will also forget to book the event, and it'll get to September and we won't have an event in.
But is competition really important to you as part of your horsey life?
No, but
is it more the activity than the competing?
It's the actual. It's the buzz around competing. I love it, and my favourite thing in the whole world is going out competing all day, you know, having an all right day. We've never had a great day, let's be honest. But getting round, not falling off, not crying, and getting home, and then, you know, having a glass of wine, sitting and talking to Alex about the day, and you're tired but you're happy, and it's just, that's my favourite thing.
The achievement, the experience.
The achievement, it's just, I think it's just being outside all day and riding all day basically, and thinking about what you're doing and trying to ride well, and I just love it. I love it.
You love a challenge, don't you? In fact, we're both like that. We love it.
You like that. I think that you will need to do that at some point, is book yourself into a dressage or a clear round or something to get him out.
That's exactly what I have well, that's what I had planned to do this summer until I realised I was about to pop.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is a bit awkward. But no, I'm not in it for the competition per se. I know that I'm not going to be excellent at it. So why would I try?
Trust me, Katie, I know that about me too.
But I would like to experience new things with Leo. And as he's a baby, it's like that feeling of firsts, you know.
And also the pride in your horse, because he is a baby. And
look, so he did a thing.
He did a thing, exactly, yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of also like sort of changing your perspective around keeping your horse fit, is there anything that you, for our listeners, is there anything that you think the horse can do work-wise with you that isn't necessarily riding? Because some people might be struggling with injury or illness themselves and they can't get on and ride, right? And that might be part of the problem. So is there anything that you'd maybe suggest in that area?
Well, we're really lucky here because we've got a walker, and so actually, you know, if the weather's really bad and they've had to stay in, we can put them on the walker and they can get a leg stretch. For me personally, and a lot of people disagree with this, but I'm not a massive lunger. And and the reason why is because I'm not very good at it. And so it's kind of on
Why are you not good at it?
I get dizzy.
How fast are you going?
Well, I've got Oscar. He goes flat out around me, and then I'm trying to slow him down. And then I panic that he's going to fall over, and so I end up just doing like really slow walking and trotting. I don't think he gets anything out of it. And then I'm fumbling around with the Pessoa or the side reins or whatever it is I've tried to use this time to get him to work across his back. So what I'm going to do, which I haven't done yet, rather than go out and lunge, or long rein, which I'm equally bad at and I need lessons in.
I would say I'm worse at long reining than lunge.
I think long reining is
so much to juggle.
There's an art to long reining.
And also
I don't have it.
My horse is a bit kicky.
Oscar's not kicky, but he doesn't like things behind him. Anyway, so what I think I'm going to do to help my horse start off getting back into fitness is take him for walks in hand over poles and potentially over little cross poles and stuff, just to have a play with him. You know, like just to get his mind going, to get him using himself a little bit in hand.
I think that's the thing as well. When I was at home with my horse before Leo, I would say one of the ways that I mean, she was never fit, but one of the ways I entertained her and got her to use herself was a lot of free schooling. And if you've got an area to do that, I think not only does it give them a bit of fitness work, but it gives you new challenges and gets them to try something without being contained, shall we say, which I think is pretty fun. The other thing is, in terms of fitness, if you're not going out and doing an event next day, then why not just do a little bit of in-hand work? Get them to do some stretching, for example.
Stretching's a really good one. Actually, I need to do that. Oh my goodness, Katie, I'm giving myself so many tips here. I free school my horse around the field every other day when he won't come in.
Intentional or
not? Non-intentional.
So hopefully that's given some ideas for people around keeping your horse fit.
If anybody has any ideas, please message us on Facebook or Instagram, because this is something that I am struggling with at the moment and I need some help.
You are struggling?
I'm struggling to keep...
You can You can do what you can.
I do what I can.
Correct answer, young lady.
Yeah, I do what I can do.
You're an equestrian.
I'm an equestrian. I'm an equestrian mum.
So moving on then to mindset challenge number 2 that we are seeing quite a lot. This one is a really sad one, and I feel like this at the moment, which is I haven't got time for my horse anymore.
Well, this is kind of what I was saying previously, isn't it? That you feel it's horse guilt because you've now got a baby and they're no longer your primary focus, which they used to be. And they used to be your baby, and now you've got a baby, and so they kind of have to take a bit of a back seat. But again, that is us humanising a horse.
Yeah, and I think my attempt at reframing this one for myself is, what have I got time for? So when I say I haven't got time for my horse anymore, no, I'm unlikely to have the similar sort of time that I did before I had Rafe. That would be unrealistic. I can't multiply hours in the day. I'm not that special. I'm not a wizard. However, what have I got time for that can involve the both of them?
Yeah, that's a nice thought.
So, even yesterday, I had to walk the dogs, had to do it by myself in the wind, which was super fun. And I had Rafe, and I hadn't seen Leo. So what do? I walk the dogs down to the yard
To see
play with Leo for a couple of minutes. And granted, I'm not riding, I'm not lunging, I'm not exercising him, I'm not even grooming him, but we're spending time together.
Yeah.
He's seen dogs, he's seen Rafe, and he's kind of used to just being poked and prodded now. And
that's good for a 4-year-old anyway, just to have somebody poke him and prod him in the nose and the bum. And
if I'm trying to do all of these things and feel like I'm failing at all of them, maybe I'm not. Maybe it's just the little glimmers of hope in all of those, activities.
Exactly.
That's good enough.
I think with me, I sometimes actually go a step further from this. So it's not just I haven't got time for my horse, but it's also I resent the horses. I think all of us do a little bit at this time of year when you're trudging through mud to go and bring them in and beat the clock because it's going to get dark in 10 minutes at 4 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? I think we all, babies, children or not, start to resent having horses at around January time.
January's always tough.
But I have found that since I've had Olive, I do kind of resent having to drag myself out there at 7 o'clock in the morning because I could be spending that time with Olive, or I'm like, it's freezing, I've got to take my baby out there, wrap her up, it takes me an extra half an hour to get out of the house anyway. So I've tried to change that mindset because how lucky is Olive to be able to get out in the fresh air all the time, and it's something for us to do, and it does keep the loneliness at bay when you're on mat leave on your own, and it helps everything. And now I take Olive out and she squeals at the horses, hits them in the face, tries to pull their whiskers, and it's already shaping how she's going to be around horses when she's older.
I think as well the thing is, yes, your riding might take a step back, your competitiveness might take a step back for a short time, medium term, long term, who knows, but actually just enjoying the time that you have with the both of them, that's okay, that's good enough.
Yeah. Agreed.
And, it is going to look different, but it's almost accepting that new beginning, that new chapter together.
Yeah, and actually you won't have as much time, but you will enjoy that time with your horse and appreciate it a lot more than you used to.
I would say that I have enjoyed my time with Leo more now than I think I did when I first got him. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that.
Because there's less pressure on you as well now.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, oh, why haven't you got out and jumped your 4-year-old, it's just probably because I've just had a baby, so I don't need to do it now.
In my lessons, I push myself, probably too much, but in my lessons, I'm saying, if I can't breathe, that's it, me done. You know, if I can't breathe,
That's a bit defeatist.
if I can't breathe, then generally, you know, I might need a breather.
I think that's your problem. You need to do breathing exercises.
But I tell you know this.
I'm joking. I was so out of breath in that lesson I had on Trigger the other day, the jumping one. And Fiona, the riding instructor, she told me that what you need to do, and this is actually a really good tip, if you start to feel really out of breath and tired, then have a break, give the horse a breather, give yourself a breather, and just before you fully recover, you go again.
I've got a top David Dole event rider tip for you.
As well, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of trying to focus on all the other things, to help with your breath, you should sing.
Yeah, that's a very well-known tip.
His particular favourite thing to sing
is
Yellow Submarine.
Yeah. I know somebody else that did that for a dressage test, and I need to do that, but I tend to sing Jingle Bells.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Jingle bells.
Sorry,
jingle
we're past
bells.
that time now, love. Past that time.
I have to do it really quickly because Oscar's got a very short stride. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh.
Hey!
With a big spook in the middle.
Oh, goody.
With a big swear word.
But no, I think I definitely have enjoyed myself and my time, like, more now that I've had Rafe, because I know that it's concentrated time.
Yeah.
Know, when I get to ride. So,
exactly.
the other thing I was going to say on this sort of challenge as well is, and I struggle with this one. Maybe you do too, because we're maybe independent people. But how can we rely on other people to help us with our passions?
See, I think this is a difficult one because, yes, you're right. It's hard to ask people for help. The girls around me when I was having Olive and after I had her were amazing, and I didn't even really need to ask them. I trusted them to look after the horses. They were absolutely brilliant. But I think if you're on a livery yard where you don't necessarily have a great relationship with everybody up there, and that would be a real worry, you know. And I think this is where we do all need to stick together and support each other. And generally, I'd say in general, 99% of horsewomen and men are fantastically supportive because they've all been through it. You know, they haven't necessarily been through having a baby, but if you've got a horse, you've been through so many ups and downs.
You know what parenting is.
That you know what parenting is, whether you've got one or not.
Whether you are a human parent or not.
Exactly, that's very true. Which actually brings me on to my the next challenge that we wanted to talk about, which is I can't afford my horse anymore.
Can I just, before we move on,
I
just say, relying on other people, I think we've just scratched the surface there. But one of the things I would say is your friends and your family that aren't horsey necessarily, if you have a network around you, ask them for help. If they are truly friends and family and they want you to succeed and they want you to be happy, looking after your child for 2 hours on a given particular day to let you have your own time for your mental health, your physical health, and just your own life is not that much to ask.
No, it's not that much to ask. And also, I think people would generally be quite honoured to do it. They'd want to do it. They're your family. And like so many friends have offered to look after Olive for me. And I've really struggled to hand her over, to be honest, to anybody apart from her dad. But I'm getting better at it.
Something I read yesterday actually ties in really nicely to this is every time you think to yourself, oh no, I can't believe I've got to ask for help again. They're going to be so burdened. They've got things to do with their own life. You're taking away from them experiencing love for your child.
Yeah, and having a relationship with them.
And having a relationship with your child.
Yeah.
Which, for a lot of people, is an honourable thing, you know.
Yeah.
I've been shocked and surprised and delighted at how much my own mum and my own grandparents have wanted to help. And not everybody has that, but I'm so independent that it shocked me
Yeah.
that they would
That
want
they're
to
so
help.
into him.
And the same with, you know, a couple of friends that have offered. It's amazing.
I'll have him if you need me to.
Oh, I'd have Olive. I wouldn't know what to do with her, and she's actually scary because she's your child. But I'd have her.
She's a bit mental, but she's great. She's fun.
So maybe that gives, again, people a different perspective. It isn't a burden.
So actually, this is something that I want to ask Katie. What I think we should do is, I'm going to bring Oscar, once he's a bit fitter, I'm going to bring Oscar to your yard and book a lesson while you watch my daughter, and then you're going to have a lesson afterwards while I watch Rafe.
Ideal.
That's what we're going to do. Anyway, moving on.
So, last challenge that we've come up against that we're going to talk about today is...
I can't afford my horse anymore. I did touch on this earlier, but I can't afford my horse anymore. I mean, I've never been able to afford my horse. Ever. Since I've had a horse, I got off my first horse when I was 11 and I couldn't afford it then, and I can't afford it now. Nobody, unless you're a multi-millionaire, can afford to have a horse.
I'm not a multi-millionaire, and I'm going to say it, even I'm struggling.
We can't.
I'm struggling because, again, it's that prioritisation thing.
Yeah, and horses cost a lot of money, and like I'm currently umming and ahhing about whether Oscar needs injections in his back, which cost 600 quid. I'm like, I know that I can't afford it, but I might only have another year's worth of competition out of Oscar before he needs to retire or just be a happy hacker or whatever. And so, do I need to pay it? So no, there is a never-ending pot of money that horses need, and nobody can ever afford it.
So, some questions to you to help reframe that is, this affording, is it for the short or the long term? Can you not afford your horse over the next couple of months? Or is it like a lifetime of not being able to afford? Does your financial situation, and when we say afford, we mean monetary, right?
Yeah.
Does your financial situation allow for saving for a problem? Does your financial situation allow for...
No, it doesn't. Are you asking me?
No, I'm not.
No, it doesn't. I'm answering anyway. It doesn't.
But if that gives you a worry, then it's, you know, it's time to look at things. The other thing is, what is it that's tipping you over the edge necessarily? Is it the fact that you're biting off more than you can chew with far too many like financial responsibilities? What is it that you can remove from your life that you necessarily might not need? So for me,
horse shoes.
For me, I would say I had a good look at my budgets a couple of weeks ago. Why have I got another like nearly brand new car that my husband drives to and from the station 2 miles each day? It's stupid. So we're going to sell that car so that we've got a little bit more free cash so that we can just buy something run of the mill, you know?
Yeah.
And then we've got like a little bit more liquid. But for some people it's, are you going to go on that extra holiday?
It's not, Katie, I think that for some people it's more, can I afford the hay bill this month?
Yeah.
Rather than, can I go on that extra holiday, or do I need to sell my brand new car?
Well, but no, it's not just about, you know, extras and luxuries in your life. It's what can you afford without? What can you afford without? And
what do you mean, what can you afford without?
Like,
can you do without, you mean?
Yeah, what
can you do without?
What can you do without? What is the bigger priority? Is it the horse eating and keeping him? Is it downgrading the livery? Is it going on field livery, for example?
Yeah, I think that's always an option, isn't it? If you have it near you and you can't afford to keep your horse where they are, putting them on field livery, if they'll cope with it, is always a good option for a short term, I think. But it then becomes very difficult to ride and compete out of a field.
But people do it.
People do it.
And I think genuinely some people would be surprised at what some of these top eventers actually look like.
Ros Cantor, that hers live out.
Yeah.
And she's just won badminton. No, not just. What did she win? Poe.
Yeah.
Yeah, she won pole, didn't she?
And I think, you know, for some people, like, I mean, we all look at Carl Hester, and Carl Hester's like amazing, and he's got a really nice yard. But all his horses live out.
Well,
Not
they
all
go
the,
out.
not
They go
all the
out.
time,
They all go out.
but
yeah.
a lot of them do live out.
Yeah,
and
some of
particularly when they're
them.
younger and older, they live out.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think as well, like, being realistic about what is important to you in your family. Is the horse important to you, and what bits of that life can you make cheaper, or what bits of that life do you need to cut out? And again, it's that really weird, horrible acceptance thing. Your life isn't the same as it was before a kid.
Well, also, I think you haven't got to this stage yet of motherhood, but I am back at work, and I almost have less money now than I did when I was on maternity leave and not really earning, because the childcare bill at the end of every month is over £1,200 a month, and my horse he's not even a factor. He's not even a factor in, like, our biggest outgoing is now childcare, and we didn't have that outgoing for him. We're not earning anymore. We're earning less.
Yeah.
If anything, because we can't work as much. And so that is, you know, if you've got, I don't have family around me, but if you do have family around you, you almost have to utilise them, because you won't be able to afford not to. And that is a huge, huge problem with our system, that, you know, hard-working families have to basically struggle through the first few years of parenthood, because the childcare costs are so high. But then the government want us all to go back to work. And I think this is
it's a bigger issue than just horses, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge issue, but I think that the rest of the population would look at horse owners and go,
it's a luxury.
That's a luxury. You could get rid of that horse. It's not a luxury. It's
a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, but it's also sometimes people have had their horses for 30 years, and those horses, and then suddenly they become pregnant. It might be their childhood pony, or they're then pregnant. They're not going to go and sell their horse or have them put to sleep, because that's their life. It's their baby.
It's like having 2 dogs, for example.
You wouldn't go and
You wouldn't go and say, bye dog, laters.
Taking you to the vet's, Pegs.
But, I mean, what I was trying to get at when I was sort of saying, not another holiday, ha ha ha, is what even if it's only temporary, can you do without? Even if you're saying to yourself, the first 5 years of my child's life, I'm doing less of this with my horse, for example, or I'm changing our living situation for a bit for my horse, or
the horse is going to have to not have a fresh rug every year. It's going to have an older rug.
Yeah. And what can you recycle from friends and family? If that's possible. What can you share between you as yard friends?
Yeah, and also for your baby. Like, I had so many friends, and my lovely family and friends everybody gave me hand-me-downs. I saved a fortune on stuff, clothes. I bought my buggy second hand. We got given the cot. I think I bought the next to me, but it was like second hand for 30 quid or something. And you can do it without spending an absolute fortune. And because as well, half of the stuff that you get, you don't know if you need it until you've got a baby.
No, and also some of those things just don't work for you and your child.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they don't work in your house, or your kid hates them.
Well, do you know what? One of the things that I did actually buy, and it was second hand, but I spent a bit of money on it, was like a steriliser and a tummy tipping machine.
You've never used them.
They didn't come out of the box. I'm still breastfeeding. Like, do you know?
Whereas for me, I obviously have bottle fed the whole time, so I needed more stuff that I didn't know I needed.
That you didn't know you needed, exactly.
Again, I bought a load of stuff off Facebook Marketplace.
So did I.
Which was brand new, sealed, that no one had ever used, and it was like a third of the price.
Exactly. So I think that buying stuff second hand when you need it, and only when you need it, because I'm not being funny, but that 300-gram rug will do you for the whole winter as long as you patch it up. That
300 gram. 300 gram.
I've got thoroughbreds.
Mate.
Your horse doesn't need any rug. I've seen him. He looks like a moose.
Excuse me, he's looking very sleek and trim with his
I'm
clip.
only joking. You're gorgeous, Leo.
So I think, again, hopefully we've lightheartedly maybe touched on just if you change your perspective on what you need versus what you actually want in your life, you can make changes. Obviously, only you guys know your financial situations, but I would really encourage people to think outside of the box when it comes to affording your horse, because there's a lot of people that make do with things, even if only temporarily, to keep the lifestyle alive. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in the game.
There's also no shame in selling your horse if you don't think you can afford it, or if you're struggling. There is no shame in selling or loaning that horse out until you're in a position to be able to afford it again.
And that was one thing I was going to ask you actually was, have you ever at any point considered like loaning or leasing or selling Oscar?
No, not Oscar. I have got a horse out on loan with a really lovely lady near my dad, called Pete, and I'm pretty sure she's never giving him back, even if I wanted him back. So yeah, I did actually have 2 horses, and one of them's out on loan now. So, but Oscar, no, I wouldn't, because he's mine.
Yeah,
he's a pet more than anything, and I love him. I love Pete as well, that's out on loan lots, but Oscar needs me more.
I think one of the things I tossed up actually when I found out I was pregnant and I went to DEFCON 5 was should I sell Leo for, I mean, he's worth a lot of money. He's worth like a fair amount of money. So should I sell him so that I can just have riding lessons twice a week?
Yeah, but then that's boring.
Or share somebody else's horse. But at the end of the day, I knew that I'd bought him for me, and so I wanted to continue that if I could.
Yeah, and you had all these dreams when you bought him that have just been delayed now that you've got a baby, but that doesn't mean that they're not still there.
So again, if you're thinking you can't afford it, do look down the option of sharing, leasing, loaning if having your horse just isn't possible anymore. Just because you have to say goodbye, and that might be the only decision left for you, doesn't mean that you can't.
You can also get a sharer. 3 days a week, or be a sharer. Get rid of your horse and be a sharer.
Or ask for friends, can I borrow your horse once a week to have a hack? There's again no shame in that. So
exactly.
Those were our mindset challenges. Let's move on. So, talking about challenges and how we can perhaps make the juggle easier, Sophie, you're going to give some top tips for keeping yard work a little bit more simple. Go for it.
I don't know. First of all, please, nobody
come for me.
Nobody come for me, because some of this stuff is probably not ideal, but I think actually the first thing to say, and I'm sorry if you don't, but having a supportive partner helps hugely with this, and with getting stuff done. And I think it's really important to communicate to your partner how much your horse means, why you need to do it, and what your horse actually needs as well. And I also think that you should walk your partner or your bestie, your yard bestie, your partner, or somebody through everything you do for your horse, what they have to eat, how much hay they have, what rugs they need on, because at some point you're going to come a cropper and you're not going to make it up to the yard because, the baby's pooed over everything and everyone in the house, or they're not very well and you can't go out, or the car's broken down, that kind of thing. So I think that's a really important thing to say anyway as well.
On that one, guys, if you've got a non-equestrian partner, friend, parent who you are going to rope in to know all the things, my top tip: make sure they know which way to put a halter on.
Yeah, that's a
go.
good tip.
There you go.
So I think one of the things that I have started doing when I don't have time is to just leave my horse's overnight rug on. Turnout rug on overnight. Because A, it dries on him. B, he stays nice and warm in it, and it saves a good. Well, first of all, it saves your arms, but it also saves quite a lot of time actually in the evenings and the mornings because he's already ready to go.
I know so many people that do not bother with stable rugs at all.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, and it's. I actually do quite like getting him cozied up in his stable rugs, and I know if I've got time, he will have his rugs on that I want. That his lovely big fluffy stable rug that I want on him, but I don't always have time, and he's no worse off for it. So
I think as long as you're checking underneath your rugs for wear and obviously for like rubs and stuff on a regular basis, like morning and night, like fold it back so that you can see that there's no issue. Why would you give yourself more of an effort?
Exactly. And that also having a baby strapped to you, if I've ever got to put him out on my own and I've got Olive with me, doing a rug is impossible. Like you can't lift it. It's really hard to not slap the baby in the face with the straps. So that's that. And then one of the jobs that I used to do every single day is poo pick the field. Sorry. So I would run round like every morning when I've put them out and do the poo picking from the day before. I'd go and have a run around when I'd go and get them in. But actually, that is something I've just taken the pressure off myself with because I just put an hour aside when I can and go and clear it.
Daily? You used to do it daily?
I used to do it daily, yeah.
I mean, your paddocks are not small either.
No, they're not. I used to, but we do it between us all. So the liveries all do it. So like, I might have done it maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and then the girls would do it a few times a week as well. So we just keep on top of it. But that's the kind of thing where that was a standard that I set for myself, which I can no longer meet. And so it doesn't get done that often anymore.
And I think that really is this whole episode in a nutshell is lower your standards.
Exactly.
Your standards will change after a baby. There ain't no shame in that game.
Well, something that I've not done, but that I know people that have done, is to deep litter them.
Interesting.
And I have done it actually on the odd occasion where I'm in a real rush or we've got to go out or I've got a baby class or Olive needs her jabs or whatever. I just skip out. And luckily my horse is super clean. And I would never do this with any of our liveries because, well, for a start, they're a lot dirtier, so they'd just be laying in wee. And secondly, we get paid to do that, so it's different. But with my horse, he's so clean, he wouldn't notice, nobody else would. I could probably deep litter him for a week and it's the same as some other horses.
Interesting, because my mare was so disgusting
dirty
that morning and night I would have to like
take it all out. Yeah. A lot of horses are like that.
But again, when she was living out, that made my life so much easier because I didn't have anything to take out. It was just the poo picking of the field.
Poopies.
And it got chain harrowed in.
Exactly. So just stuff like that. And I think something that actually I really struggle to do with when I've got Olive with me is hay nets. Because all the dust goes everywhere, and if they're in front of you, it can scratch their face or get in their eyes. And so I never do hay nets with her anymore, or anything with the hay. I wait until she's either asleep and Alex can watch her, and I can go out and do the hay nets, and I do them all for as long as I can, or they just get some hay chucked on the floor.
That's something I hadn't considered. I'd never really thought about that, but I guess you can get hay everywhere.
Yeah, she got bit in her eye once. And it was weeping, and I was like, oh no, she can't do the hay anymore. Also little things like if you've got, so I actually did quite a lot of turning out and bringing in with Olive strapped to me. And I think that it's quite difficult to reach up, especially if you've got a big horse, to reach up and undo the head collar. when you've got a baby on you, and also probably a bit dangerous because the horse can swing his head around and whatever else. And so sometimes I have just left the head collars on and unclipped them and then got out of the field, because I'm like, I don't want to put her in any danger that she doesn't need to be in. So actually the horse can live with a head collar on, they won't even notice.
And also as well, you can buy field safe head collars, people.
Yeah, you can. Equilibrium products. They do a really good one.
Yeah. But I had a particular pony once that was really difficult to catch, so she had a field safe head collar on a lot of the time, and it did not do her any harm to do that.
Exactly. I think in general my takeaway is that the horses do not care about certain things. That's us. And whatever you can do to make your life easier, the horse is still fed, clean, watered, hayed. The baby is fed, clean, watered, not hayed. then that is the way you need to go sometimes when you are having a tough time fitting it all in. Just do what you can.
I love one of these points that you've made here is they don't care if their mane is too long. If they've got mud on their face, they're horses, guys.
They do not care.
They're horses, guys. My horse would be thrilled if I left him alone for a few days.
Oscar does. Oh my goodness, you should see his mane. It's awful. He so badly needs it pulled, but luckily it's winter. I don't see his mane that often. He's got a big long neck rug on.
Yeah, I think again, this is all about standards. Lowering the standards so that you don't just survive, you thrive.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So before we round up this episode, I'd just really like to read our listeners an extract from a conversation that we've had this week with a really incredible mum that wrote into us called Carol. So Carol has 2 boys, now in their mid-teens, 14 and 16, who are still involved in Pony Club to this day, and they're still riding, jumping. I think one of them's working on a race yard. So Carol has very kindly said that we can share her words with you in order that we may just give some of us newer parents a bit of hope and inspiration for brighter days ahead. So here are Carol's words. It's certainly not easy at any stage. There's 16 months between my boys, so there were very many double pushchair at the yard days. I was really lucky as I ran a very small livery yard when they were little. We had climbing frames, bikes, ride-on diggers, scooter ramps, Nerf guns, cowboys and Indians, yard cats and guinea pigs, archaeology phases and digging for treasure, a lot of baby ski suits and far too many nettle stings with dock leaf bandages, paddling pools that were really hay-soaking tubs, and water balloon play too. Sledging to and from home and yard because we couldn't even drive in the snow. Driving the car with the boys sat on my lap whilst harrowing fields and harrowing schools. So many wonderful memories and sad times too. Pony Club was and still is socially amazing for them. Did things always go as planned? No. Have we learnt from it all and enjoyed ourselves? Yes. My thing would be to say, worry less. But that comes with the territory of being a mum. My hardest lesson was that I couldn't always finish a job. I probably couldn't ever finish a job at one stage. But if I could start something, then I should. And if I was really lucky, I'd manage to finish it. If not, then at least I'd done a little bit. Later, or tomorrow, or next week, maybe I'd do that little bit more. Overall, though, how many mums of 14 and 16-year-olds can say that they spent hours and hours with them? Staying in the lorry with one at BS Junior stayaways, driving the other too far and too early to be out at the racing yard. Yes, winning the lottery would have definitely helped, but they already both work with horses to help pay for them, just as I did. There are days that seem dark and difficult, impossible. It was also dull and difficult and brilliant, and sometimes all 3 at once. But there is always a way, and somehow it all works out. I won't say enjoy them when they're little because they grow up so fast, but I will say look forward to enjoying the memories.
Well, I'm trying really hard not to cry. Oh
I
my God, I actually am going to cry.
I have to say, when we had this conversation with Carol this week, in fact I get hairs on the back of my neck every time I think about this.
We are so lucky to have the horses.
We are.
And our babies are so lucky to have grown up around them, or to be growing up around them now.
So whenever we think we're not doing a good job or we're scrimping in some area, it's actually what a brilliant experience to be giving them along the way. And not all kids can say that they have had that experience, and not all parents have the privilege of doing so.
Well, do you know what I thought the other day? And actually, do you know what made me think of it? Is that Katie texted me and asked me to brush my hair for this podcast so that she could take a photo of me. and then I was out mucking out or doing something, and I was thinking, do you know what? My hair is a mess all the time at the moment. I'm constantly covered in either horse poo, baby sick, some sort of disgusting substance. And I'm always tired, always exhausted. The mud is disgusting at the moment as well. But my heart... Oh my God, I can't say it. I can't do it. Can you summarise?
I hope this episode has given you plenty to think about. Parenthood and ponies has never, ever been easy. But hopefully, together we can see that we're not alone. We are all in this together. Even if we can't swoop in and change each individual situation for you, we can at least try and change our mindset around some of those nagging negative thoughts that appear to try and keep us stuck. Remember, you are doing your best. That is good enough. Remember, you will never be able to give 100% to everything all of the time. It's impossible. However, if you focus on what is possible and make step forwards towards that, even if teeny tiny to begin with, that's still progress. And remember, we can have both. The question is how. So, thank you for listening, and we'll see you very, very soon on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to another episode from the Equestrian Mums Club. It's been great to have you along for the ride. We've been your hosts, Sophie Conway and Katie Allen Clark. Make sure you hit the follow button to hear more from us as we dig deeper into the world of ponies and parenthood. Until next time, stay smiling, stay safe, and try and stay on.